The book, The Deadly Alamo Train Crash of 1940, started off with me being stuck in traffic in Alamo on Tower Road. I live in Alamo, lived there for years, and I had just never noticed this historical marker till I'm stuck and I'm just looking around and I see a marker. It's too far to read, but the only words I can make out is train crash. So I get home and it's just in my head, like, what is that? So I type in train crash, Alamo, and I discover the story of a train crash that happened on March 14th, 1940, when the train collided with a truckload of farm workers, killing 29 of them, dragging that truck about 750 yards down. This accident happened in the intersection of Tower Road and Highway 83. And I was like, I wanted to learn a lot more about it. And I had just recently heard a podcast by a middle school teacher who told this story that happened in their town about a race riot that happened in their town. And she did it with middle school kids. And it just planted a seed in my head. I'm like, this would be a cool project to do with our Mexican American history class, or Mexican American studies class. So it was actually summer, and I was like all summer waiting to tell these kids to see if they'll do it. In the meantime, it was COVID. This is the year of COVID. So I knew I'd be seeing these kids only online. So that I was trying to make sure that could we do this online, and I looked at like different softwares, how to record audio, and it seemed like it was doable. We could share a Google Drive, have the kids do the research, I throw information in there and they can research. So I knew it was doable. The City of Alamo Museum has a whole section to this train crash. And I called the director, and it was closed because of COVID, but he gave me a private tour to start seeing it. And his name's Alex Soyoka, and he's helped us out a lot. So then in August, when I finally see my class, it was the first day of school, I was so excited. I'm like, guys, and I tell them the whole story. I'm like, would you guys want to participate in making a podcast? Like, because the film would be difficult because of the COVID conditions. And they all said yes. So then we began to do as much research as we could. It turned out that one of our art teachers here, her mother witnessed the accident. And she put us in touch with the family, the Ramon family. The Ramon family, Jose Ramon, was the driver of the truck. His grandson is Hidalgo County Judge Cortez, Richard Cortez. So we were able to talk to that family, and we got some interviews with them. We were able to get enough information. We turned it into a 4-episode podcast. We had a bonus 5th episode of when Alex came into my classroom via Zoom, and he talked to the kids about the accident to give them more information. It made its way into the train community. There was a professor of train history that covered it, and he's like, when the book comes out, let me cover it. So I had gotten, when we finished, as has happened with my other book, The Alton Bus Crash, I've gotten more information. More people start to come out. I have this, I'll tell my story. And I'm like, okay, I really want to do something with this. So then when I decided this could be another book project. And the narrator of the podcast, Ms. Taylor Seaver, was about to graduate, and she was actually going to major in history. And I told her, since she narrated it, and for both of us, the reason we really did this story is with the children of farm workers. And to us, it was like, these are the people that put food on our tables and the nation's tables, and all they were doing is trying to go to work, and this horrible thing happens. And we felt like it was a way to highlight the plight of the farm workers, what they live through, what they go through every day. So that was a real driving force behind writing this book. And so I told her, you're going to be a history major. How would you like to have a credit of writing a book? You know, we've gone this far doing this. Let's keep going. So we spent the summer researching and putting things together, getting documents, getting the federal examination, their investigation from the ICC, and interviewing as many people as we could. We interviewed people that responded right away. One was like 11-year-old boy, he's a 90-year-old man now, but he was there right after it happened. He told his story. Then we had a big, every year Alamo commemorates it. We put it in they put it in their social media. Anyone who was involved or knows someone, come, and we were able to get tons of interviews that time. So all that culminated in us writing this book. Probably the hardest part of writing the book was every newspaper, and there's tons, it was covered nationally. Lots of them had different names of who died. The hardest part about writing the book was determining who actually passed away in this accident. We can never know who was on the truck. So we've got descriptions, people jumped off right before they actually saw it happening and may not have been around to be interviewed and stuff, but we tried our best to pin down who died in the accident, because there was different names, different spellings. It took us forever. We had to go to a cemetery where a lot of them were buried to check, and once doing that and going through death records, we finally created a definitive list of the dead. We actually printed it out and gave it to the Alamo Museum so they could have, as they have a display now, you can have the accurate list of dead. And in working with this, there's just so many family members are just so happy that this story is being preserved. And then others had a really hard time. They were orphaned, they were treated really badly. So you see both aspects of that story play itself out in the history of that, what happened, the impact of that crash. Because I feel like our community stories aren't preserved enough. And every time I've either done the Alton bus crash, I did this, and some other community historical projects I've done, I get nothing but praise that, oh, thank you for saving this, thank you for telling this story finally. The community feedback is always just so positive. They're just so happy that their stories are being preserved. I recently did a talk in the Mission Historical Museum about this upcoming book, and one of the ladies whose mom lost everything, and she said her mother struggled her whole life trying to keep things together. She broke down crying, and I broke down crying, but it was all because her mom's story would be saved. I didn't even know my own history going to high school. And like I tell my kids, you are lucky to get this history now. I didn't get it till in graduate school. And so, but that creates a certain pride in yourself or pride in your community. You know that we're just, that we have a very strong history, that we've been here since the beginning of the nation, even before this nation, and we should carry ourselves that way.